Steph, and I'm the Chief Nursing Officer at Cuyuna Regional Medical Center. I'm a woman like yourself, and I'm excited that you joined us tonight. This is our second annual Women's Wellness event, so we're thrilled that you're here. Are you having a good time? It's fun to have something to do, isn't it? Good. So we really appreciate you coming and getting healthy, and we know what that's like. Today's Thursday. By now you're probably getting tired, right? You had a busy week. Doing all your chores, driving kids, doing all that, taking care of everybody else except yourself. So this is your night to take care of yourself, learn how to stay healthy, and have a good time. So first of all, though, we really want to thank our sponsors for allowing us to do this and helping us do it. Minneapolis Heart Institute is one of our major players. Nystrom and Associates, Central Minnesota Teen Challenge, and some of our media sponsors are over here, and vendors who donated products and services. So did anybody get anything free yet? Okay, good. And all of our wonderful volunteers. It takes a lot to put this on, so we couldn't do it without them. Now you're going to be listening and seeing someone very special. I'm sure you're excited. Tonight you'll be able to enjoy the Health and Wellness Expo until 7:30. So if you didn't get to everything after this, you can go back. And then after Janine Turner's presentation, she's going to actually have a reception. So if you go out this door, go to the left, you'll be able to meet her personally. So she's real pretty, she's real nice, and she's excited to be here. So first of all, Janine Turner is an Emmy and 3-time Golden Globe nominated actress known by millions of fans for her role in the television show Northern Exposure. And we have a gentleman tonight here, if you want to stand up. He actually has her sweatshirt on. Isn't that cool? I saw him earlier. Maybe she'll autograph it for you. Okay. So, her illustrious career also includes starring in Friday Night Lights, Strong, Medicine, and feature films such as Steel Magnolia, Cliffhanger, Dr. T and the Women, and Leave It to Beaver. I didn't know that. Did you? She was in that. Yeah. So she right now is an actress, radio talk show host, public speaker, political commentator, director, published author, singer, yoga enthusiast, entrepreneur, and active patriot. So she's busy just like all of us are. So as a political commentator, she appears regularly on the O'Reilly Factor as well too. So I know you're excited. I won't wait too much longer. She's known for her riveting and inspiring presentations. Janine Turner is highly acclaimed and sought-after public speaker. She has a lot to share with you tonight. She has a lot in common. We all have a lot in common as women, and so we're excited that you're here. She ready?
Here I come. Thank you. I had to lift up my dress and turn my mic on. So, take me a minute. Hang on, let me get my drinks ready here. How y'all doing? Good. We're all in red for our hearts. That's good, or a lot of us. Well, okay, let me get my timer going because I have 45 minutes here. Start. Okay, it is so much fun to be here in Minnesota. Though I'm here, I'm supposed to say it a bit of a different way. Minnesota? Or Minnesota? Minnesota, okay, very good. And Minnesota's beautiful, it's so pretty. I have a funny story. One time I had to go to Tampa to get a speech, and they were having a hurricane. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could fly. Usually people fly away from hurricanes, and I was kind of flying toward a hurricane. And so now when I booked this beach in Minnesota, here I am flying to a blizzard. So I've done a hurricane and I've done a blizzard, so there you go. But anyway, it's a pleasure to be here. I thank Peggy Stebbins, who's been so wonderful. Breakdown of how that name came to be, even though there's no I, it's a U, and I'm so glad I asked him how to pronounce it. But what a wonderful medical center. Yes, how great this community has that. That's really fantastic. So I'm happy to be here. So I have a funny story. Well, first of all, I'll tell you a bit about myself. I'm from Texas, if you can't tell. And but I've lived in New York and LA and all over all these years of my life. And but now I moved back after Northern Exposure. I moved home in 1995. And I bought a ranch. Because when I lived in New York and LA as a struggling actress, I couldn't think about moving home to Texas. But once Northern Exposure got picked up for 50 episodes, which was really rare back then, first thing I bought was a pickup truck and a horse. And then I bought a ranch. And so my ranch is my real home. It's in North Dallas, almost to Oklahoma, right at the border, but not quite to Oklahoma. So my daughter is in school in Dallas, however. My daughter's here, Juliet, she's back here. Yeah, come say hi, Juliet. I think she missed 2 days of school to come with me. She's going to college next year. Oh, good! I'm a single mother, and so I'm like, wow, I'll just move with her. I'll just have an apartment nearby. As she's traveling with me, I'm like, what's going to happen when you're in college? You're going to give a speech. Who's going to travel with me? Anyway, so maybe they can be weekends and keep me college. She's like, yeah, Mom, right? Anyway, so we live on our ranch, but her school's in Dallas. So the drive was just horrible. It was like 2 hours. It was a terrible drive. So we started staying with my parents, who purchased my old house in town. So the story that I'm leading up to is my mother's from San Antonio, Texas. So when she heard I was coming to Minnesota, she's like, Minnesota? In February? She's 78, 79 years old, right? Oh my gosh. So every day when we get ready to take Juliet to school, my mother said, here's a map. Where exactly are you going in Minnesota? I'm like, Mom, relax. Then she comes the next day. I just had to talk to a friend and she told me that your car can get stuck in Minnesota and you can be there for hours. And you can like stock the food, stock the car with food. And I'm like, okay, Mom, I think we're all right, you know? So story after story is a story. So then we go to church one day, and I haven't spoken to my brother and my sister-in-law in weeks. I didn't think they knew. And so I'm sitting there, we're having a brunch, and so my brother gets up to leave, and he turns around and he says, when are you going to Minnesota? I'm like, relax already! And my sister-in-law said, what's wrong with Minnesota? I'm like, exactly. So here's a funny story. So my daughter has gotten accepted to St. Andrews, which is a university in Scotland. And so she's like, whatever, but all these boys arrived from Scotland in an acapella group. They have a acapella group. And she's like, and an acapella group. And so she's like, Mom, I'm like, Julie's not really going crazy. She's like, oh my gosh, Mom, oh, they're so cute. And they're from like New Zealand and Japan and England and Scotland and Ireland. I'm like, okay, well, because she's in Dallas, and anyway, I was working out there at the school. And I see all these boys coming. So here they really actually were very cute. And so here they all come, they've already performed, and so I stop them and I start talking to them. And I said, Scotland, so tell me about Scotland and how cold is it and what's it like and all that. And so they're all there. So this one boy says, well, it's not really that cold. It's not as cold as Minnesota. What are the odds that who would have said Minnesota? I couldn't, so it was like this comedy. It was like a comedy of the movie. Anyway, I love it here. I think it's absolutely beautiful. We were a little freaked out about the blizzard. So I'm contemplating going, how this throughout the roads. And I did Northern Exposure. And it actually wasn't Alaska, it was Seattle. But we were out in the Cascade Mountains. I'm like, Mom, I've driven this. I'm not 53, but my mom is still hovering, right? But that's what moms do. Okay, but it's beautiful. I love the drive. We flew into Minneapolis. And which has, I must say, the airport is the most beautiful bathrooms I've ever seen in my life. And so we drove up this morning. The trees are beautiful, and the snow is beautiful. Though here you don't have quite as much snow as you'd like. For the ice fishing this weekend, who's going? My mother actually walked out of the story. She goes, "They go ice fishing." I'm like, yes, Mom. Anyway, it's like this. But we crossed the Mississippi. driving in, and I just think it's beautiful. All the farms and the what y'all call them. You call them farms? We call them ranches, but I mean all the farms and the snow and frozen lakes, and then they said we're driving over the Mississippi. I'm like, the Mississippi? I didn't really realize, right? I'm like, oh, it's so much more beautiful up here than it is down there. So I didn't know that the Mississippi started as a stream. So that's just really cool. It's like one time I was traveling and I went to Estes Park, which is where the Continental Divide is. So anyway, it's beautiful here and I'm thrilled to be here, and I know I'm supposed to talk about heart. Okay, so I told my mom stories. I told her those. Okay, heart disease. So we have a lot of heart disease in my family. On my father's side, very, very prevalent. My father's father died of a heart attack in 1957 in his 40s, he was like 42. Then my dad had atrial fib. He was a West Pointer, and back then when you graduated from West Point, you go Air Force Army. And so he went to the Air Force, and he was flying the B-58 Hustler, which killed more pilots. You know it? Yeah, some of the men sometimes know it. The B-58 Hustler, he was one of the first to fly twice the speed of sound in the 1960s. And so they were flying this aircraft, which was always malfunctioning, and its flew twice the speed of sound at very, very high altitude. But he had taken off, and one of his engines caught on fire. And so they said, come back, and he had to come back and land quickly. Because the fuel would go from one wing to the other. It was a really dangerous aircraft. And so they landed, and then they hopped out and ran, like the Dickens, and then afterwards they discovered he had atrial fib. So I think if I was in an aircraft that was catching fire, I might go to AFib too. So my dad had AFib, atrial flutter. He was an atrial flutter. Later in life, he had atrial fib and congestive heart failure, and he ended up dying of that just 2 years ago. So it's very sad. But I love him, and he's with me. And so then my brother had a heart attack at 42, which is kind of weird, but he survived. On my mother's side, her dad died of a heart attack, but he was like 70, and then my mother had atrial fib. So the reason I'm here to talk to you though is because my heart is always going into PVCs. I feel like I sometimes go into AFib and sometimes come right back. So it really struck me with my daughter, because I'm a single mom. Her dad's around but not around, you know what I mean? And so you could really get kind of, I don't know, for me, I was much more in tune with my health once I realized I was the sole responsibility for my daughter. And I used to love Coca-Cola. I drank it all the time in little bottles and over ice and caffeine and coffee. And so one day we were twirling around dancing in the den, and my heart goes like, I'm like, oh. So I stopped all caffeine when I was 40, and I became very aware about what's going on with my heart. So I just want to do a disclaimer with what I'm going to share with you today. I'm not a doctor, even though I did play one on TV. Remember those commercials? Oh, yay! I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. So I did play a doctor on TV on strong medicine, but I'm not a doctor. So, I mean, as far as real, I'm going to talk preventatively, the things that are a little quirky, but I believe in them, but they're my deal. Obviously go see your cardiologist, do what you need to do, get thoroughly checked out, which is what I do. I just did that myself. So I just want to do that little disclaimer. But I do want to talk to you about 3 things I've learned about heart health. One is I want to share my experiences with you about stress, right? My experiences with you about food, and what I've learned about food. And my experience with you about exercise, and what I've learned recently about exercise. So, okay, stress. I think stress, whether it's resentments or fatigue or sorrow or, whatever, anger, whatever, I believe I can feel it because I'm so aware. Of course, it has a tremendous impact on our heart and our heart rhythms. I mean, our hearts are these sensitive, they even talk about the brain, I have a priest that I love, and I'm really Protestant, but nevertheless, he's a really good friend of mine, and he talks about that the heart has brain cells. But I actually looked it up last night and said, the heart does not have brain cells, but whatever. The heart thinks, some people think it does, some people don't. The heart does, I think, is very, very intuitive. So it's very responsive to stress. Who has stress? We all have stress. So one of the first things I had to learn to do is how to cope with stress. Adrenaline, all these things that happen to the heart. So one of the first things I did at the age of 23, we have another hereditary disease in our family, which is alcoholism. So at 23, I stopped drinking because I was a blackout drinker. I guess you're familiar with that. Or maybe not, because it takes a while. So, what a blackout drinker means is you're functioning, but you don't remember what you're doing, right? Not passed out, but blackout. Not cool. Didn't like that at all. I experienced that with my family lineage, and when I realized I was doing that, I feel it really got me into my 12-step program a lot sooner than it would have if I hadn't, experienced those. So, age 23, I got sober. It doesn't mean everyone, this is my experience. I'm not here to preach that everybody has to quit drinking, because a lot of people can drink and drink normally, and they actually say, a glass of wine really helps with your heart rhythm. But for me, I gave up drinking at age 23. Now, and I joined the 12-step program. That's good, because of the damage that alcohol can actually do to your heart. I mean, alcohol can cause, with your heart, strokes and congestive heart failure and high blood pressure and all those things. So now I don't drink. Of course, the reason I drank was to get over stress, to deal with stress. I didn't really have any coping skills. So one of the things I learned was how to cope when I got sober. Really an amazing 12-step program. The first thing I learned was how to turn it over to God. Or higher power is what they say. We're a country of religious freedom. We all have our different God and different faith, but turn my life, my will over to the care of God. That's been a struggle for me. I've had to learn. I think I'm getting closer and closer to really understanding what that is now that I'm middle-aged. In my 23, I was kind of like, what does that mean? How do I do that? How do I have a goal and turn my will over at the same time? So it's a little bit tricky. But to let go and let God take care of the results, just to chill out a little bit. Stop trying to control what's going on. All those things create like a tension and want me to, make it just affects the heart rhythm. So one of the things I had to learn to deal with the resentments. Anyone ever had a resentment? Yeah, resentments. It's like what they say when you go into the 12-step programs is a lot of times you thought the worst thing that declaring you're an alcoholic would be the worst thing that could ever happen to you turns out to be the best thing that's ever happened to you. And that's what everybody says, and that's what I believe. Because I learned how to cope, and I learned how the resentments can just turn my life to negativity, forget heart, just my entire life to negativity. So I had to learn how to deal with resentments. One of the things I've learned to deal with is to identify the resentment. I write a journal about it. I can write a journal about it sometimes. But I got to clean it up right away. Clean up my side of the street. So I know that if I've done something, look at this resentment. Lots of times my resentments are on other people. Look what they did. But if I can turn around for just a minute and look around what I did that was part of that situation, okay, let me just go clean up my side of the street. And one of the steps is every night you take your own personal inventory, and when you're wrong, promptly admit it. I love that. Because carrying around resentment, anger, all these things, it just eats away at our health. So I'm talking about preventative health here today. And one of the ways I believe to keep heart healthy is to be aware of our emotions, to be aware of our feelings, to have clarity of mind. And when these resentments come up, to say, how can I stop these and stop them right away? As I do in a journal, talking with another person. Super, super, super important. I always make sure there's someone that I can talk to that's on the same path as me, where I can say, let me talk through this with you. Humility! I've learned a lot about humility, and that's a little bit what I'm talking about. I have to become, sometimes it's like I beat myself up. I think all the things I've done wrong. But it's just good to have some humility and for me to say, okay, because humility brings peace. And peace of mind brings a healthier heart. Perspective. I've written a book about single moms, and there was amazing women throughout 17th century, 12 women. But one of the things they talk about, one of the women that I loved was a woman that just no matter what situation she was in, she made her gratitude her attitude. She turned around and said, let me just try to be grateful for what I have. And I've done that a lot. So often like, I want this, I wish this was happening, and I wish that was happening. No, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all the things I do today. Going to bed at night and making a list of the gratitude that I have really helps deal with all the other emotions. And humor. I think humor is just absolutely vital. And I also find a lot of friends who are on the same sort of path in life as I am. That really, really helps a lot of friends. So that's one of the things I've learned dealing with feelings. How do I deal with all the anger or resentments or pain, sorrow? And a lot of sorrow. with my dad's death. Really, really devastating sorrow. And I've had challenges in my life, like, well, getting sober early has been a challenge. Raising my daughter by myself, my angel, my gift from God, has been a challenge. Not with her, but just the circumstances. She's an angel. She really is. But also dealing with sorrow, dealing with the death of my dad was just a real devastation for me. I didn't get to say goodbye to him. It was very sudden. He got in the car when Mom was taking him to the doctor because he was not able to sleep. And they were going to a sleep clinic, and he closed his eyes and just died right then and there. So, you know, it just happens. So, you know, my faith is paramount to me. It's really, really, as I say, I'm not preaching faith to you tonight. We all have our own religions. You can have none. It could be yoga or meditation, whatever it may be. But for me personally, when after 9/11 happened, actually, that really kind of freaked me out. Yeah. I actually read the Bible in a year after 9/11. I'm like, okay, because God's always been with me, but this is a way that I can really, really stay rooted. And I'm always doing meditations on the way to school and read the Bible and things of that nature. But I find that my time with reading the Bible has just really given me such great solace because I get out of my thinking. You know, we call it stinking thinking. Sometimes I'm in my head, and if I'm left alone to my own devices, I have this thinking that just sort of overwhelms or takes me down the wrong path, which isn't good for my heart. And I can feel it put my heart out of rhythm. If I get really angry, if I get really resentful, boy, I'm always going like this. Yeah! The other day I was at a party. I'm developing a movie now where I would star in it and whatnot. And so we're trying to raise money for it. And I'm going, and I'm like, oh gosh, we're thinking I'm crazy. So hot baths. Who loves to take a hot bath? Love hot baths. Love chocolate. I have to be very careful with chocolate because chocolate has caffeine. And recently I have, in trying to stay into a meditative state where I can remain optimistic and have that, you know, all these things that I'm sharing with you, I have to work out every moment of every day. I mean, it's not like one of these things where, it's my mom, I try to get my mom on the same journey with me, and I'm reading The Power of Positive Thinking again too, right? I'm like, Mom, she's like, I read it 25 years ago. I'm like, Mom. You know, it's like, I find I have to do these things every day, throughout the day, to keep myself. And my latest favorite thing, cool story, a little bit of a side, how am I doing on time? Okay, good. One more quick thing is I was determined on my New Year's resolution to find two of my friends from my New York acting days. And I actually found her. And I remember staying in her apartment back in 1988. And she had this beautiful choir music. I was like young, you know, the choir boys, the beautiful boys choir. And I always, for 20 years, I wondered what that music was. And she finally told me it was King's Choir. And so I took the Cambridge King's Choir, the King's Choir. Oh my gosh, they have the Vivaldi on there. I listen to it all the time. So, and I've also learned, before I move on to food, that what I focus on is what I become. And it's one of the things I've taught my daughter, especially recently. You know, what I listen to, you know, the culture today is just rammed into our living rooms. Of course, I'm a part of that, television and whatnot. But I mean, it's like sometimes I just have to think for myself. And I tell my daughter, what you think and what you listen to and what you read and what you put your thoughts, and that's what you become. So I live that every single day of really trying to deal with keeping my heart in rhythm. I want to stay sane, but I also want to keep my heart in rhythm. So I don't want my heart to go to AFib, and I really always worry about my heart going to AFib. So that leads to food. So I already told you I gave up caffeine. I drank Coca-Cola instead of. Did y'all watch Women Exposure? Anybody in here? Yeah. It was fun. On the second Women Exposure, I always had a Coca-Cola, or they'd bring a Coca-Cola to me or ice, and I love Coca-Cola. So giving them Coca-Cola was just. I wept on my couch for a week, really. It was just terrible. But I also have become, and this is something that I tell doctors and they go, whatever, but it really makes sense if you think about it. I become super sensitive to foods and how they affect my heart rhythm. Okay, here's an example. I kept noticing that as I ever would eat the spice turmeric, however you want to say it, that my heart would go, it would just start kind of flop around. It's just kind of weird. So for years I thought, okay, turmeric really affects my heart rhythm. But I was just kind of keeping it to myself. Cranberry juice. Sometimes I'd have cranberry juice, and the first glass of the second glass, I noticed my heart would kind of get, okay, that's weird. So then I hit the menopause. would get migraines with aura, so they're like, no, you can't have hormones. So I would cold turkey. Also at the time, I didn't realize that my thyroid was too low. So y'all make sure you check your thyroid, get a thyroid panel. Because to go through menopause with no thyroid, not a good thing. So I had low thyroid, so I got my thyroid fixed. But when I started with the menopause, I started noticing I was having these dizzy spells. And I couldn't figure it out, where I just kind of got, and sometimes I really felt like I couldn't walk from like, I remember sitting in my car in the North parking lot, I didn't think I could walk a straight line. I didn't know what was happening. So I called my OB/GYN, and I'm like, look, is this part of menopause to have these dizzy spells? She goes, no, really it's not. I'm like, oh, because I thought it would be. So I went to see, I saw heart doctors, I saw neurologists, I saw everybody, and I thought, well, maybe I'm hypoglycemic. So I was wheezing in eggs and almond bars, and I was every 2 hours and putting on like 30 pounds. And so then I would walk with my daughter on the ranch, and hang on, I got to sit down. I mean, I was really scared. I had no idea what was happening to me. And so I finally saw another OB/GYN who everyone says was this guru, and I told him no one could figure out what was wrong with me, and he goes, we're going to do food allergy testing. So we did a blood test, and we did food allergy testing. Guess what? Allergic to eggs, highly allergic to eggs, allergic to almonds, allergic to cranberry juice. They didn't test me for turmeric. I'm like, that makes sense. It just makes perfect sense. So I started going off all these foods that I was allergic to, and all of a sudden I wasn't dizzy anymore. I had more energy. My heart didn't go out of rhythm. I didn't feel like I was going to faint. So my experience with food has just been, you can get the blood test. Of course, they do in the back. They can do your allergies in the back, but they can also do a blood test. And the blood test is really pretty phenomenal. As a matter of fact, I've been 3 years, I stayed off. Anything I was allergic to remotely, I didn't eat. Of course, I had to go off. I'm very allergic to yeast, wheat, gluten. So here I love Danishes. I would have a Danish every morning. My brother used to say, no man can live without bread alone, but Janine can. Or he would say, no one can live on bread alone, but Janine can. I mean, I had bread. I love bread. So giving up all those things were really, really difficult. You just really want to give up a chocolate chip cookie or something. But I gave it all up. But I had to replace milk because I was allergic to a lot of dairy. So I replaced milk with soy. So twice a day, I would have a nice big soy drink. So I did that for about a year. And then recently, my heart started just really feeling like it was kind of, 30? Okay. But it was really told me it was trying to I felt like it was trying to go to AFib again. And so then I would bend over and it would kind of flop around. And I just felt something was really different about the heart. So I made an appointment with the cardiologist, thank you. The cardiologist, and he gave me the Holter monitor, and I wore it, and I immediately got my blood test again for foods to see where were the barometers on that now? Guess what was off the charts I was allergic to? Soy. So I stopped the soy, and my heart went back in rhythm. So it sounds weird, but if any of you out there are concerned about your heart rhythm, obviously get checked. You have to make sure you don't have clogged arteries or a real heart issue or an impending heart attack or whatever. I'm not talking like as a physician, but I have learned that what I eat drastically affects my heart rhythm. I even take it to what I put on my face. So, I just use like shea butter and jojoba oil and things that are pure. I don't eat anything with nitrates because of migraines. My migraines are always triggered by nitrates. And I stay away from any processed food, which there go my Taco Bell days. So I stay away from processed food, and it gets really, really difficult, but yes?
So what's left to eat?
Yeah! Good question. So what's left to eat is actually a lot. I have beef, I have potatoes, I love sweet potatoes, all kinds of vegetables, and then I can have chicken and pork, and it's kind of eating the way that my great-grandmother would eat. They actually fix the meals and put everything on the table. Nothing handy to go. Juliet and I on the plane yesterday, I can't eat anything. I'm allergic to nuts too, so I can't eat anything that the plane offers. So we pre-cook all the food and put it in like hamburger meat and chicken and some sweet potatoes and put it in a little thing and carry it around. So it's a real hassle. But once again, I'm just trying to keep my not be dizzy, not faint, not have a heart rhythm. So I'm really happy that's happened. So another thing I will say is magnesium. Sometimes I would get up and my heart will race really, really fast. And so I saw a doctor and he said, drink magnesium before you go to bed. And that changed it. Really, really helped, magnesium. There's a drink called Ionic Fizz, which has B's, so a few B's in it, but it has magnesium. But now I do a drink that's got D3, that has D3, calcium and magnesium in it. So that really, really helps. I have magnesium before I walk on the stage to make sure my heart can cover. Magnesium, potassium, lots of water. Lots and lots and lots and lots of water. I do love salt, but I'm easy. I have salt. I like salt. But water, 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 water. Okay. The last thing I think I'll be just about on time before I get to go meet all of y'all. Sometimes we say that, all y'all, and that's just such bad English. Y'all. I'm going to tell you a funny story. At my ranch, there was this dog that barked and 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 barked when I first we got there. So I got in my car and I went over to see. Of course, we're out there with our guns and everything in Texas, right? I'm like, I'm going to get shot. And I go over and this guy's there, they're like, just make sure everything's okay. And we're chatting. I was just hoping he wasn't, pull out a gun. And as I left, he goes, y'all have a good day. It was just me, right? But now I do that. Okay, the last thing I want to share with you is exercise. So during this last episode of my heart went out of rhythm, of course I found out about the soy, but I read that if you exercise 30 minutes a day, it will help with heart arrhythmias. A lot of people go into AFib or whatever, and you need to see your doctor or whatever, but they do say if you exercise, it can put the heart back. So, okay, I'm going to do it. So I started doing 30 minutes of exercise every day. Now here's what I do though, which is so unique. Okay, who likes to go to the treadmill? Not me, right? I dance, I like to hike and stuff. I hate being on the treadmill. And a lot of times I just don't want to go get on the treadmill or do whatever I need to do. But I thought I'm determined to do 30 minutes a day. So you know what I'll do? I'll walk around my room. Yeah, I'll walk around my bedroom. So what I do is, yesterday I was walking around the hotel yesterday. And I was walking like this around the hotel in my house shoes, and then just back around the room for 30 minutes. I'm like, Julian, how fast do you think I'm going? 2.8 or 3.0? And I just walk around my room. And then I go up and down the stairs, and I do some arm things like this, It's been remarkable. It's changed everything for me that I don't have to go to a gym, I don't have to go on the treadmill, the weather's not good, I can just walk around my room. So sometimes I hike, sometimes I walk around my daughter's parking lot at school. They probably think I'm a little crazy. But I put on my angel music, I call it the angel music, it's like boys choir. I put the boys choir music, and I just walk around the parking lot for 30 minutes, or I just walk around my room. And my room at my mother's house is very, very small, so the bed takes up all the room. And between my desk and my bed and my two little dogs, Tinker and Belle, my dad named them that. Do you remember Thing 1 and Thing 2 from Dr. Seuss? That's what they are. Thing 1 and Thing 2, and my cat, and then the other cat, my dad's cat that wants to come up, and my dad's dog. And anyway, I literally between the chair and my bed is the width of my body. So I just go like this, and I go above the bed, and I just walk back and forth, and and then it just gives me energy. Psychologically, it's really good. Now, sometimes I do get on the treadmill, and I'll go hike or do whatever, but so I just want to encourage y'all, you really don't have any more excuses about that 30 minutes a day. I don't have to put on my house shoes. I don't have to put on my tennis shoes even. Sometimes I do it in my house shoes, but it's just psychological. Some days, there are days when you can't. Like I had a diverticulitis outbreak, and I couldn't do it. But most days I do it every single day. But it's psychological too. It's a really good psychological exercise. And some days I just walk really slow. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do 30. I'm just going to walk slow because I'm feeling really tired. I'm going to do my 30 minutes. So I just want to share that, especially because it gets really cold up here. Now you can just walk around the room. Very good. And sometimes I go home and put on my nightgown and my robe and my house shoes, and I just walk for 30 minutes. And what Julia taught me is I can just go like this, and it really does help. But I like going like this too, and doing my shoulders because I drive so much. I feel like my shoulders are really free. So the exercise has really, really helped as well. And it's helped. I have noticed. Oh, we have 15 minutes. Oh, I thought it was at 30. I had 15 minutes. That was weird. Oh, I have 8 minutes left. Then my timer's on. Okay, but anyway, I have noticed that the walking has really helped with my blood sugar level. I don't get as hungry. as much as I used to. And I remember one time I said to another OB/GYN, my regular OB/GYN, I said, I get hungry all the time. And she said, try exercise. So it's helped my blood sugar levels. It's definitely helped with my heart. And it just helps me, I just feel it. You know, you get the endorphins going. And one of the things they say alcoholics don't have enough of, we don't have enough endorphins. So it really is wonderful to be able to have that experience. So, you know, I believe, because it's heart health, we're all already, whoa, I'm sorry. Sorry. If you have anything, start to kill it. Hello, we're back. I have to tell you another funny story. My really good friend, she was one of my first sponsors when I got sober. She looked like Candace Bergen, and we used to always write screenplays together. Can you hear me? We used to write screenplays together and whatnot in Hollywood in the early days. And we went to play tennis. Neither of us knew how to play tennis. So we'd sit here and go, sorry! And then she'd sit here and go, oh, sorry! 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 So we joked today. It was like, oh, just one big sorry. It's like, sorry. Okay. So, I believe the heart is more than just an organ. You know, the heart is actually a very intuitive. You know, you hear about hearts breaking. You hear about, I don't know if any of you have kind of, you know, someone's going to call and they do call or whatever. You know, the heart can feel. The heart has intuition. The heart is very, very, very sensitive. So that's why I do everything I can to really take care of my heart, you know, to eat right, and so to cope with stress. I think coping, you know, you hear people they lose their jobs or get really stressed out or whatever, and you know, they have heart attacks or things of that nature. But I just think learning how to cope with all the emotions that we feel throughout the day really has helped me. Whether it's, y'all journal? I just really started, my daughter's been an example. I just started journaling. Journaling really is cool. A lot of times I take the scriptures that I read and I write them out, and then I write C.S. Lewis out after that, and then I write kind of what's going on with my day, how I'm feeling, what's happening. But just trying to actually get out the feelings that I'm having and to take my own personal inventory and what's my responsibility in this. And I'll clean this up, and then I have to let go of it. I think for heart health, there has to be a lot of letting go. And letting God, so to speak. And then the food, is that interesting with the food? Yeah, really, really interesting with the food. So, you know, I think our food system today has become something that our grandparents, great-grandparents wouldn't even recognize. I mean, if you just start reading the label, I try not to eat anything that has more than 4 ingredients in it. You know, I try to be very careful of nitrates, preservatives, additives, whether it's preservative, yeah, any of those things that are in the food, I really try to watch very, very carefully. Food and then exercise. So, you know, I think you've probably heard a lot of this before, but how many people tell you to walk around your bedroom in your house? Right? Or to pay attention to what you eat and what your heart does. I know it happens to me. I can tell. I'll be sitting there, my heart starts to kind of, I'm not saying it's going to an AFib, but it'll cut off a lot more PVCs than I usually do. I know it's usually always related to either an emotion that I need to kind of calm down, or it has to do with something that I've eaten. Pretty fascinating. So yeah, and then we have the exercise. So I hope y'all all go home tonight and put on your nightgowns and your house shoes and have it really is great. So I'm really thrilled to be here. I think Minnesota is beautiful. I wish I could go ice fishing. That'd be fun. Of course, what I think is like my mother, how did all the cars not crash the ice? It doesn't happen? Okay. I'll tell you one more funny story. I don't remember all these funny stories today. When my dad flew for Brandis International, you remember Brandis? You remember Brandis? And so as a young girl, we went to Honolulu, and my dad flew the first plane to Honolulu when they were actually flying. I always love when I get in an airplane, I know they were Air Force pilots because I feel really safe. And so we went to Honolulu twice, in kindergarten and first grade. And in kindergarten, when we were going to Honolulu, we had big Cadillacs. You know, because in Texas you have big Cadillacs, you have big cars. And so when we got there, we rented a very small car. And I said to my brother, I was like 5, why did you have a small car? And my brother said, because the big cars will cause the island to sink. There's 10,000 people are coming. I'm like, you put all those cars in the ice, how does it not sink? But of course, we're from Texas, and we just have little ponds. And when we were driving up, I said, where are the cows? And y'all have a lot of cows, because you have dairy cows. Yeah. But in Texas, we have cows. It's grown up so much where I live. I worry about all the nature. That's kind of a whole other discussion. But we have a lot of cows. And a final part of the story. My dad I have longhorn cattle. Do you have longhorn cattle? Big longhorns. They're so beautiful. And we have one named Tiger Bud. And he comes up like a dog. I name them all after flowers or revolutionary figures. Yeah. So I said, Tiger Bud, come here. And he'll walk up like a dog. And his horns are like out to here. I'm like, hi, Tiger Bud. And he'll bat his eyes and I give him a few cues. It's real bad. But my dad used to say to me, Janine, we need to get some real cows. I'm like, Dad, these are the original real cows. But now I have some Angus. We have an Angus baby, and we just named him after Alexander Hamilton. And the bull is named Henry Lee, after Richard Henry Lee and Patrick Henry. And then his girlfriend, wife, whatever, is Martha Washington. And then I can't sell them. I'm the worst cow woman in the world because they're all like, because you know what, we study them, and when we study them, we noticed that the mother that had a baby, 7 years ago, and then those 2 daughters, they all hang together. They will actually stay together, and they'll come rescue one another. Stories I don't have time to tell, but that's really hard to sell them. I'm a terrible cow woman. I don't even hang this bull now, Hamilton, and I don't know how I'm ever going to sell them. But y'all have a lot of farms, and I don't know where I was going with that story. I guess it's my dad had real cows. But my dad had limousine cows. I'm like, Dad, do you ever go to a restaurant and say, I want a limousine burger? Do y'all have limousine burgers? It's usually an Angus burger, right? Do y'all have limousine burgers? Oh! Limousine are black cows, and they're sometimes brown cows, and they look like Angus, but they're called limousine. It's a brand. It's a brand. Not a brand, a breed. It's a breed. Okay, I think I did it. This will be the baby's heart. How sweet you ever had. But God bless you all. I look forward to meeting you back. Remember, keep those emotions in check. Watch what you eat. Do a little experiment now and see what happens with foods if you're like me all the time, feeling my heart's out of rhythm. And I hope you all go home and do a walk and take a week. So thank you.